You know, I heard someone once say that social anxiety is like the silent pandemic, and that couldn't be more true. Now, I know I'm not alone when I say this. Growing up, I truly thought I was the only person experiencing this. I grew up in a small town where everyone knew each other. I was the shy girl and somewhat of an outcast. That's how everyone knew me. I had friends, and in my earlier years, those friendships, they kind of came and went. But I didn't just struggle with friendships. I struggled with talking to teachers, giving presentations, making phone calls, asking questions when I needed help. I carried this mountain of anxiety on my back for like 20 years. If this sounds like you, please stick around and watch this video. I want to share with you guys how I overcame my social anxiety, the 5 things that truly helped me along this journey. Now, before we get into the video, I just want to quickly welcome those of you who are new here. My name is Bridget. On this channel, you'll find me talk a lot about social anxiety, general anxiety, a lot of introvert things, and a whole bunch of other mental health related things. So if any of that interests you, make sure you go check out some of my other videos. Don't forget to like this video if you found it helpful or useful, comment below what you'd like to see more from me, and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. So let's get into the video. I'm not that girl who I talked about in the beginning of this video. I've come a very long way since then. I still carry some of that anxiety, but nothing compared to what it used to be. But I want to point out that this transition did not happen overnight. It took years in the making. I also want to point out that everyone's journey looks different. Everyone has a different starting point and a different destination. And that brings me to my first point, the destination. I started getting curious about what my life could look like in my early teenage years. Like I said, I was somewhat of an outcast. I spent a lot of time comparing myself to other girls my age, constantly feeling like I was alone in where I was, that I was never going to change, and that I was pretty much doomed for the rest of my life. I looked at those other girls and I just thought, oh my gosh, like, it's so easy for them. And how I wanted to be that girl. Not in a toxic way, but I wanted to be powerful. I wanted to have a voice. I wanted to be able to ask questions. I wanted to get curious. I wanted to speak my mind and make an impact. And all of those things I just listed, those were my why. So when I say the first thing is the destination, I mean the first thing is getting clear on your why. You're never going to change if you don't have a why, if you don't have a destination. I didn't know this at the time, but it's very clear to me now that if I wasn't able to see a life that I could have, if I wasn't able to, envision myself being something better, I was never going to change. Those reasons were the things that kept me going when things got hard and when things got unpredictable. The second thing that really helped me was getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. Now, this is a tough one because if you deal with social anxiety, you know how uncomfortable being uncomfortable is. It's hard, it's tough. And this is probably the hardest thing that you have to do in terms of overcoming social anxiety. We fear judgment. We fear what happens when we speak up, when we mess up, when we fail. In order to not be scared of those things, in order to not have that fear, we need to get comfortable with doing those things. We need to get comfortable with that feeling of, oh no, this might not work, or oh no, I might look like an idiot. And you will. You will fail. You will look like an idiot. But that's life. And the reason why I say this is the hardest thing is because it's about our mentality around it. If we think it's better to keep doing the things that we're doing, keep staying stuck, keep living in fear, keep not doing the things that we want to do, then we're going to continue to do that. But if we think it's better to actually make a change, to start putting ourselves out there, to start speaking up, to start getting curious, then we will do it. The mentality is so much more important than anything else. If you believe you're confident, you will be confident. If you believe you're not confident, you will not be confident. It's simple. But really it's not simple because it's a hard thing to wrap your head around. Third thing, and it's kind of going off of what I was just talking about, being uncomfortable. One thing I started to do was setting small goals. Things that I could do every single day, or maybe every single week, month, whatever, that were fearful to me. So just to give you an idea of some of the things that I was doing was making phone calls even though it scared the shit out of me. Asking a question even though I was afraid that it was going to be stupid. Talking to people I would have normally never talked to. When I went to the grocery store, when I had a hair appointment, when I saw someone walking on the street, being the first to say hi. And even something as simple as saying hi to someone on the street, it's one word. But after you do that thing, the thrill that you get, the enjoyment, the feeling of like, I can do anything. You really can't beat it. One thing I want to point out that I didn't know about at the time, but I do know of now, there's something that Tim Ferriss calls fear setting. I'm gonna break it down really simply. You're gonna write down all your fears. And then you're gonna think about, if you didn't do those things, what would your life look like a year from now? What would your life look like 5 years from now, right? So if you didn't do those things, how would your life look? Now, the opposite is, if you did do those things, what could your life look like? What could your life look like a year from now? What could your life look like 5 years from now? And that is something that I would really recommend. Although I didn't do it at the time, I think being able to visualize everything and seeing where you would be or where you could be would be really helpful, especially in terms of the mentality. The fourth thing I want to mention, again, it goes off the last thing about doing those fearful actions. So one thing I've learned along the way is that people with social anxiety, yes, they're fearful of doing social things, right? That's obviously clear. But in terms of how we think as humans and how we operate at a very basic level, when people are assigned a role, they will fulfill that role. If they're in a class, if they're in an experiment, if they're at work, if they're at their job, if you have a role, you will fulfill that role. It doesn't matter if you have social anxiety, it doesn't matter if you don't have social anxiety. So what I started doing without even knowing it, when I would go into these fearful actions, I would play a role. So if I was at a hair appointment, if I was at the grocery store, if I was at wherever, and I was talking to someone random, because I wouldn't really be doing this if I was talking to someone I knew. So just keep it at people you don't know. It's much easier that way. I would play a role because I didn't know this person, because they had no expectations from me, they didn't know how I would normally act. I could be anyone who I wanted to be. And so I did that. I told myself before going into that situation that I was going to be this. I was going to be outgoing. I was going to be smart. I was going to be quirky. I was going to be whatever it was that I said I was going to be. And because I set myself that role, it made it that much easier. Because going into it, I just thought, okay, I'm playing this role. No expectations. Just fulfill your role. And there actually is some science behind it. In Susan Cain's book, Quiet, she talks about this concept, about experiments that have been run where people with social anxiety and people without social anxiety were assigned a task, and both groups were able to complete the role. And it was a social requirement. Both were able to complete the role. It didn't matter. And it's crazy knowing this because I had been doing that for so many years. The last thing I want to mention is that all these actions that you're doing, all of these things that you're putting into yourself, we have to take time to reflect on where we were. And I don't think I did this enough. There were times where I did, and it really pushed me to keep going and pushed me to keep getting uncomfortable and keep growing. But it's easy to look at ourselves in the mirror and think, oh my God, I'm still here. Like, I'm still stuck. It's easy to forget where we started. It's easy to get stuck in the middle of it all when you really don't feel like anything is working and you're doomed for life. But the times when we look at where we are and where we were is crucial. Like I said at the beginning of this video, my journey was like years in the making, and I really don't feel like I hit a breaking point until I was like 20, 21. But then I think about it and I'm like, well, I actually hit a lot of breaking points. And then I look at myself now and I think, I don't think I'm done, right? So it's something that is ever evolving, it's ever changing, and you're constantly wanting to do more. I started this channel 2 years ago maybe, and I started it because it was something that was uncomfortable for me. I started it because it was something for me, and it became something for a mass group of people that were also struggling, right? But this was one of those fearful actions that I did for myself. I was scared shitless to start this channel, to have people watch my videos, to look at my first video, edit the video, and post it online thinking this is absolutely garbage, right? I did it, and I think back from where I am now to my first video, and I can't even believe the progress. So although I feel like I hit that breaking point, I don't know, maybe 5-6 years ago, and I was cured, I don't really think will ever, you really don't cure it. And like, I'm okay with that. I think pushing myself to get better every day is better than being at the final destination. So I have a final destination. Do I know if I'll ever reach that destination? No, I don't. Do I care? No. But I'm constantly striving to get there, or get close to there, or even go farther. Who knows? So if you find yourself struggling with this, if you have social anxiety, try some of these things out. Let me know how it goes. I promise you'll see some progress. So thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed and got some use out of it as always, and I will see you next time. Bye.